Welcome to the Train Like a King podcast, dedicated to all things paddling, designed to help paddlers of all levels get motivated to get out on the water. Tune in, grab your paddle, and let's train like a king. Welcome back to another Train Like a King podcast episode. This episode is titled The Birth of Train Like a King. So how did Train Like a King come about? So obviously I've been in the sport of paddling since the age of 7, 29 years old now, so 22 years. And throughout my competitive years, so 2013 and onwards, alongside my traveling and racing, I began, not only writing my own training plans, but I started writing training plans just for other paddlers because I used all the information that I learned at university. I did extra study up on other sports and how they train, and I found a formula that worked for me that was built on the idea of periodization. And periodization is basically a way of, organizing a training, a time that you have, breaking it down into separate phases and building towards a particular race. But this is probably a topic for another episode. Anyway, I would write these training plans for people, and I would also deliver coaching clinics. So I did that just on a whim, on my own, when I would go to these countries that I was traveling to, just to make a bit of money on the side. And in 2018 was just another year of traveling and racing and accepting opportunities when people would invite me, to their local races and put me up and things. And in 2018, I was invited to Singapore and Hong Kong to not only race in the Singapore Ocean Cup and the Hong Kong Dragon Run, but to coach too. So it just works out well when you go somewhere to race, but at the same time you can do a bit of coaching and make some money. And in Singapore, one of the clubs, or one of the teams that I was coaching, was a New Zealand team. So a team of expats that lived and worked in Singapore and had started this Kiwi club. And I was blown away how many Kiwis actually, were a part of this club, or even just lived and worked in Singapore. And one particular individual, Irene Matila Cooper, who's probably listening to this podcast, after the coaching session, came to me about a training plan for the Kiwi crew in preparation for one of their country of origin races in Singapore. And sure enough, I wrote up a basic plan for them. But she also followed up with, basically asking me whether I wanted a bit of help and support in kind of making what I do a little bit more official. And, being young, and I already lacked a lot of business mindset and all that type of stuff, I said yes, because I think I really needed something like that support wise. And sure enough, Irene, being the business mind that she is, she worked in Singapore for 15 years, working jobs that entailed business, marketing, management. So she was kind of a perfect person to partner with. And basically we became partners. We started Train Like a King, and formed the business partnership. And it's been a pretty awesome journey. What about the origin of the name itself, Train Like a King? I don't even know if it was Train Like a King straight off the bat. And I apologize if I get this wrong, but Alicia, who is a very important part of Train Like a King too in the background. She's done a lot of work for us, particularly in the website and marketing space. But I believe Alicia was the one that came up with the 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 name of our business, Train Like a King. But originally, I believe it was like a slogan, Train Like a King. But then it just kind of became the business. So shout out to Alicia. I think um, Irene was a part of that too, and then we got to work creating all of the vision behind Train Like a King, creating the story behind Train Like a King, creating the identity, tying it to our Māori and Pacific roots, tying it to the shark. The shark is a symbol in itself. The shark navigates the waters with confidence, no matter the weather. He's out there. He's hunting. He's got his mind on the goal, and yeah. So without Irene, Train Like a King wouldn't exist the way that it does today. And if I look back on, when I was young and I first started Wakaama, I never would have dreamed that Wakaama would have provided the opportunities that it did, even pre-Train Like a King, but even with Train Like a King itself, I never would have imagined I'd be able to do the things that I've done. So yeah, that was the birth of Train Like a King. And although you don't see a lot of those faces, say Irene, Alicia, Cassidy, Darren, I could probably name a list of people who make things happen. Brian, our merchandise dealer, our merchandise transport. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that make Train Like a King, make it happen. And we just want to continue to grow. We want to continue to create products and services that help grow the sport of Wakaama. And yeah, what else can we say about Train Like a King? We started off in 2018. Obviously, it was a tough year we started 2018, but 2019 was the kind of the official start. It was a tough year because like I said, I was in Hawaii most of that year. So we were kind of trying to do things. I was trying to do things from afar. And then we ran into COVID, and that really put a halt on our plans, because prior to that we were delivering junior coaching clinics for free. We had online platforms for free for juniors, and alongside the training plans and websites and merchandise, and so COVID kind of put a break on that. But we did a lot of virtual stuff online. We did a few virtual races, which I think people enjoyed, especially during that lockdown period. But it's been cool to this year to get the ball rolling again with overseas trips and clinics, and got a big year planned this year. So to name a few, got the Molokai Solo coming up, got the Te Aito in Tahiti in June. We're hopefully going to get over to the Gorge in July, Samoa World Champs in August, and then Brazil at the end of August. And that's just the beginning of the year. We haven't even looked at the 6-man races that can happen after August, like the Molokai Hoi, the Hawaii Nui, the Catalina, the World Championship surf skis in December in Australia. Ah, so much to do, so little time, but there's no other, there's nothing else I'd, you know, prefer to be doing. Sometimes you think, what would you do if you had, I wouldn't say all the money in the world, but what if, what if you were free to do whatever you like? Chances are I'd just I'd want to go and do all the top races around the world. So can't complain because I'm doing that already. Living the dream. So making the most of it while those opportunities are still here, and trying to leverage that as much as possible with Train Like a King, and hopefully that only helps to grow the sport, which will grow the opportunities for the future. The up and coming rangatahi behind us. So yeah, that was the birth of Train Like a King. On and upwards from here, let's see where the future takes us. And thank you for listening to this episode. But don't forget to listen to the outro starting now. Thank you for listening to another episode on the Train Like a King podcast. Check out trainlikeaking.com for training plans, merchandise, and coaching opportunities. If you haven't already, give us a follow so you don't miss another episode. Catch you on the next one.